It's wild how fast things can change in the NBA. Just a few years ago, Ben Simmons was an all-star, playing his best basketball, a walking triple-double, heading to superstar territory. Now fast forward to 2025, he's not even in the league, going from the next LeBron to out the NBA by age 28, but he's not alone. Every season, more familiar names fade into irrelevancy, trying to squeeze out one extra productive season until their bodies had enough. Certain players with one more in them only end up being in memes their final season, wearing on a more ridiculous uniform that don't represent any of their legacy, more of a laughing stock. In today's NBA, these former stars will have some brutal decisions in the coming weeks, falling off a cliff suddenly. It simply got to the point of no return, cooked beyond repair. Either ride the bench, play the Udonis Haslem role, or get ready for that farewell speech. The stars who many cherished through the years, now just painful to watch every time they step foot on the court. Starting with the tragic fall of the Splash brother Klay Thompson. Been mocked so bad, many call him the Trash Brother. Future Hall of Famer, 5-time All-Star, simply can't accept his own reality. Father Time kicked in 2 years ago. There's simply nothing he could do about it. Will be remembered as one of the best second and third options in the greatest modern dynasty. 2025-26 Klay Thompson, the perfect example of a former MMA champion getting old, brutally knocked out, believing he still has one more run in him, followed by consecutive losses in embarrassing fashion. Somebody ultra competitive but doesn't know when to quit. An absolute abysmal stat line, under 8 points a game, disgusting, 32% shooting from 3. Only came to the Mavs because of Luka. Now he's got nobody to swing him the rock. Being 35 years old at this stage of his career, no longer quick enough to get to his sweet spots, scored between 0 to 11 points, first 10 games, brutally painful to watch him brick by brick, taking the one-legged fadeaways, contested jumpers. Those shots were a thing in the past. This version of Klay does not have the green light anymore. Too overly confident. Too bad Nico Harrison didn't move him to the Lakers, and Dallas could have tried to get Austin Reeves in return. Now Klay, one of the worst trade values in the league, on the books till 2027, not even worth taking by anybody at this point, even shot the ball backwards. The low light that could bully him to retirement, given the ACL and Achilles injuries, killed all his movement. From getting benched for rookie Brandon Przemski 2 years ago, now getting outplayed by Max Christie, Klay can put in all the work he wants. No doubt, he's a hard worker, through and through. But the reality is, he's not good enough anymore. Even worse so than Ray Allen in his last season. There's no good return for the struggling all-time great shooter, too prideful of his abilities. We might see a few 20-point games here and there, but things are not going to get better. He's already a 4-time champ. There's no need to ring chase at this point. A buyout and sign to a minimum, the most realistic case than being traded. Thompson's perfect situation, probably finish his career out in Detroit playing with Cade, looking like he'll regret not retiring a Warrior. You know who's never been a Warrior? Bradley Beal, who robs and steals. So washed up, when will he finally conceal? 2 years, 11 mil for the Clippers, not even living up to that contract. Former shell of his former self. Clippers fans will forever be upset about trading Norman Powell for a washed up multiple-time All-Star who can't even stay healthy. Will be forgotten once he retires. 30 years from now, when people look back at the history books, Beal's name will be best remembered for the guy who nearly challenged Steph Curry for the 2021 scoring title. Getting buckets on a bad team, many forgot he had knee surgery back in May, affecting his play. 6 weeks later with the Clippers, still doesn't look recovered. Always been injury prone since 2020. Each of the last 4 seasons, 53, 53, 50, and 40 games played. Complained he wasn't allowed to be Brad Beal with Phoenix. Just can't fully admit he's a bench guy at best. Only team I see trading for Beal, the dysfunctional Sacramento Kings, out of desperation. He's been watched for a while now. We're all numb to it. Approaching the 2024 Ben Simmons stages. Thank goodness for Golden State not to sign him. From wanting more shots in Phoenix and blaming the organization for his struggles, his attitude and lack of sacrifice speaks volume. Getting his feelings hurt when Coach Bud wanted him to play more like Drew Holiday, when in reality, Drew more of a chance getting in the Hall of Fame? When will the Clippers realize they're better off without Beal in the lineup, since he can't play more than 3 weeks without missing some time, never develops a flow or gets in rhythm, gets injured again and again? Everybody's sick of him being in an NBA uniform. The more he decides to stick around and gets playing time, the more he will remind people of Paul Pierce on the Clippers. Every team would rather have draft mate Harrison Barnes going forward heading to 2026 than miss the unlimited PTO any day of the week. Chris Paul, it's over for the point guard. He'll be remembered as a top 30 player-ish, sadly without a ring. A career filled with untimely heartbreakers and misfortunes. Now 40 years old, still a solid player dating back to 2023, but with the lack of size, Father Time officially had enough. Nobody would have been shocked to see CP retire after playing 82 games with San Antonio, but for now, he'll look to reach the 1400 game plateau. Been absolutely terrible, 6 of 25 shooting first 8 games, from starting point guard last season to now the 14th man in a blink of an eye. When we all watched some of the greatest farewells like Kobe's 60 piece and Derek Jeter's walk-off hit in Yankee Stadium, those all-time greats blinded many on what 99% of superstars retire like. CP should have decided to go back to Houston or OKC. Now he's already auditioning for his best Jason Kidd impression. When the 40-year-old went scoreless his last 10 playoff games, 0 of 17 from the field across the Boston and Indiana series 2013, Chris Paul very close to being that wash. Is it even worth having any sort of celebration retirement tour if you're playing this bad? Playing like how any undersized 40-year-old would, slow, out of rhythm, inefficient, don't have the legs to make shots. Joke's on him, building his own retirement home with all the bricks he's been putting up. Absolutely doesn't look playable unless he's just sticking around getting reps being a future head coach. His play is diminished to the point, hurts to say, Bronny James might actually be a more productive NBA player than 40-year-old Chris Paul heading into 2026. More Clippers, Brook Lopez had his moments, been an all-star, been a champion, had an incredible career transformation that lasted him a decade longer than Roy Hibbert, had a heck of a career, somebody every big should aspire to be. But it's almost 2026, the slow-footed 7-footer with minimum mobility on the retirement home Clippers only gonna make the team look even older at this point. Ty Lue can suit up as a player and we wouldn't be able to tell which guy in the lineup is most washed. Laughable numbers of 7 and 2, just a big body in practice to bang with Zoo. Lopez no longer impacts the game when the shot's not falling, seems to have hit a wall, has no legs on his jumper. Without a guy like Giannis occupying the paint makes him look even worse. 37 years old, him and CP3 were both defensive monsters back in the day. Now having no defense, John Collins having to guard the pick and roll by himself, an absolute disaster class of a travesty. These Clippers literally a reincarnation of the 2022 retirement home Lakers. Having a team option for 2027, there's no way Lopez lasting more than one full season with this squad. Chris Middleton, 34 years old, hasn't been the same since 2022, just played half his possible games each of the last 3 seasons. As soon as the Bucks traded him for Kyle Kuzma, you know he's beyond wash. A short-term vet for the worst franchise in the East, a free agent after this season, perhaps a target buyout. Signing back with the Bucks for the vibes of it, Giannis probably approves. Now a bench player wouldn't be good enough to replace Gary Trent or AJ Green at this point. No team would be interested in trading for him given the huge salary and lack of production. Too expensive, can't stay healthy, has no expectations. Just one of those way past their prime former all-stars, happened to be stuck in Washington for a couple months. If he can't even up his stats on the Wizards, might have to retire earlier than expected. Kevin Love, channeling his cheerleading talents on the bench, the perfect unk being the 15th man, will likely spend more time smoking cigars with Danny Ainge than log minutes in a Jazz uniform. The only attention he will get now, not what he does on the court, but by his hilarious social media posts. Played his last good basketball, 2023 finals for Miami, was already limited then. The future Hall of Famer will cherish every next basket he will make before calling it quits. Kyle Lowry, another season in Philly? Seriously, Kudos to him for being a future Hall of Famer, most decorated Raptor all time, but should have walked away after last season. There's a 99.9% chance Lowry's gonna retire after this season. His best case scenario, signing a one-day contract with the Raptors and call it a career. How many more flops does he have left? 20 seasons in the NBA after making his first All-Star team in year 8. One of those players who thrived with the right situation, the definition of a true pro, didn't lash out when not getting playing time. Many young players with bad attitudes in Lowry's situation could have been out the league after year 3. The type of player to be celebrated for squeezing out every ounce of his talents on the hardwood. A one-time NBA champ, the closest thing to this generation's Chauncey Billups. As long as he doesn't start mixing play with poker hands post-retirement, Lowry will do just fine. Mike Conley, not playing so fine. It's 2026. Old man Riverwalk still starting some games for Minnesota. They got no chance making out the West. Now 38 years old, 19 seasons, very good career. Only reason he decides to stick around after this season, trying to reach the $300 million career earnings mark. He'll be at 297 after year 19. If Rob Dillingham continues to fail the team, Conley will be forced to play heavy minutes. His body's only gonna break down faster. How much can he help come playoff time? Didn't do much last postseason. If he's trying to chase a ring, I'm afraid Minnesota won't be good enough come May. Eric Gordon back in Philly in a vet minimum? Give it up already. This team's literally the Clippers of the East. Paul George still awaiting his debut. He might be added to this list come December. EG soon to be 37 years old. Only Philly can resign him due to Daryl Morey's likeness. What value does he bring to the Sixers now? At least the younger Victor Oladipo fighting relentlessly for an NBA comeback, he'll be an upgrade from Mr. Gordon. Other names who would likely be on this list next season: CJ McCollum's days getting outnumbered, struggling with the Wizards, undersized, needs the ball in his hands, too inconsistent these days, while Al Horford has the right to have a farewell if he fully commits to 2026 being his final season. So far, putting up under 6-5 on the year. If he sticks around any longer, he'll get the Chris Paul Bradley Beal disgustingly washed treatment. Horford's already had some rough Klay Thompson shooting games. DeAndre Jordan's been beyond washed since 2021. A great locker room presence, being liked by everybody at his job comes a long way in all careers of life. Depending on how Paul George performs, he's probably not far from joining these big namers on the rapid decline. How about guys like D'Angelo Russell? Will Joel Embiid's body hold up? The fall from grace can be brutally devastating, from playing crunch time minutes, starting in the All-Star game, to being a washed up bench warmer a year later. Just ask Kemba Walker. The game of basketball just keeps moving forward. While these former stars, in the most utmost respect, it's time to call it quits.